This one's called Race to 100, and it's a great activity for working on your basic addition strategies, but also strengthening your place value understanding with the 2-digit numbers. You might have heard of this one before, but like everything, the devil's in the details. So I'm going to show you how I teach it with a real strong emphasis on structure. All you need to play Race to 100 is a whiteboard marker and a pen, or a book, some MAB, and a dice. Now, I like this 1 to 10 sided dice because every now and again when students roll a 10, they see that every time they add 10 to a number, the ones don't change, they stay the same. Alright, so to start the game, let's roll our dice. And here we've got a 7. So as we play, I always want my students to, every time they roll the dice, to grab it and organise that collection and put it in a structure so we can see how many there is just by looking. So you can see here, I've got my 7, and I know it's 7 because it's a 6 and 1. Then I'm going to write the number sentence. So because it's the first round, we had 0 to start with, plus 7 equals 7. Then I'm going to roll my dice again. Now I've got an 8. So again, as soon as I roll my dice, I want my students to then grab and organise that collection. So I'm going to grab my 8 here. So I've got 4 and another 4, because I know that 2 4s is 8. And so now I've got my 7 I had to start with and my 8. Now, to avoid students just counting by ones, we really want them to think about partitioning the numbers by breaking them into their number bonds. So now I want to think about how much I would have altogether. So I could either imagine maybe with my 7 here taking 3 from the 8 to make 10 so that I can trade with a 10, and then imagine how much I'm left with. So I want to tell my students to have a think about it first and imagine what it's going to be before they do the trade. So I'm going to imagine these 3 making 10, and then I'll be left with 5 left. So I think I'm going to be left with 15. Now I can do it. So there we've got 8 over here and 2 more. Now I've got a 10, so I can trade that in for my 10. And now I know I've got 15. And now at the end of the round, I'm going to take my 15, I'm going to drop it down here, ready for my next roll. So now I've got 15, 1, 10, and 5. I'm going to roll my dice again, and this time I'm going to get 2. So I'm going to put my 2 over here, and I'm going to put my 5 a little bit closer. And I'm going to imagine, all right, so if I've got 5 and 2 more, what's that going to be? Well, that's going to be 17. 15 plus 2 equals 17. Now I'm going to roll my dice again. All right, this time I've got 7, so I'm going to grab my 7. Again, I like to organise 7 as a 6 and a 1. So there's my 6, and 1 more is 7. So again here, instead of just having my 17 and counting on by ones, now that I've got my extra 7 organised, I want to think about what the total will be. So in this case, I know I've got 3 spots left to make my 20. So I'm going to imagine 3 of my blocks coming across to make the 20, and then I can see that I'll have 4 remainder. So I know that 17 plus 7 is going to be 24. And then, so I always want to have a think about it first and then move my blocks to check. So yeah, I've been able to make another 10. I'm going to move that 10 out, replace it, and I'm left with 24. So 17 plus 7 equals 24. And now I'll move that 24 back down here, plus, ready to roll my next number, plus 4. Using those number bonds now, I can see that, yeah, that's just going to be 28 because 4 and 4 makes 8. And I'm going to roll the dice one last time. And one more, well, that's just going to jump in there and be 29. So 28 plus 1 equals 29. And so the handy thing about the students recording it like this in their books or on their whiteboards is that as you're walking around the classroom, you can quickly check in and see if they're making mistakes. But obviously, they just keep going and see how many turns it takes them to get all the way to 100. But I can't emphasize enough when you do activities like this, just how much of a difference it makes when you are really intentional about the structure, how you want kids organizing it, how you want them thinking about it. So just building in that chance to, all right, I'm going to grab my number, I'm going to make it, and then I'm going to imagine what it's going to look like. That's what's helping them build those pathways, because we want them to be able to imagine adding those things just in their mind's eye. We just want them to be able to have those mental objects where they can just do it. So whenever we're using concrete materials like this, we want the students to have to be forced to imagine the blocks moving around to make different structures, because it's those imaginings that are going to strengthen those neural pathways, so that when they don't have anything in front of them, they can still bring up an image of what that looks like, because they've seen it so many times and they've forced themselves to manipulate those collections in their mind. So be sure to let me know how your students go with this, if you give it a crack, or if you've got any other tips that help you get the most out of it. But yeah, go math it up.